Drew McIntyre's latest shot against CM Punk has the entire wrestling world talking because it involves one Jack Perry. Drew McIntyre and Jack Perry met up, and oh boy, is this juicy. What happened? What's going on? What's happening with CM Punk maybe being involved in this? I'm going to tell you right here in this video. We're also going to talk about a pretty major Bryan Danielson contract update. All that and much more coming up in this video. So be sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. All right, so Drew McIntyre, of course, has been going back and forth with CM Punk for a while, ever since, he injured him at the Rumble. He prayed for this, blah, blah, blah. We've been through that. Well, McIntyre today on the app formerly known as Twitter took to there and posted something that got everyone's attention. Here it is. Drew McIntyre posing with Jack Perry. This is just after the early morning hours of today. And he's taking a picture, posting on X. It's a real photo. Cry us a river. Of course, Jack Perry was the person who many people blame for getting CM Punk fired from AEW. Obviously, that fight at All In happened where Jack Perry was choked out, and the rest is history. We all know that. We're not going to revisit too much of that, but obviously, there's not been a lot of goodwill between Perry and Punk. Punk basically went on Ariel Helwani's show at WrestleMania week and, threw Jack under the bus, talked about Jack in pretty disparaging ways, if we're being honest. And there seems to be no love lost there. And look, for McIntyre to do this, it's a big deal. And it becomes an even bigger deal when you factor in the truth that Drew McIntyre deleted this post shortly after it was posted. I think it was up for like an hour, and then it was deleted, which has everyone talking because now immediately everyone's brain is going to, oh my God, well, CM Punk and Drew McIntyre, but like, is he getting involved? Is CM Punk angry? Is CM Punk shooting? Did he request Triple H to take it down? A lot of theories. We don't know the truth, but I think we have a few ideas of what could have happened here. I think number one, like the idea that CM Punk would like go to Triple H and be like, "Hey, take this, tell him to take this down," blah blah blah. I think that's definitely like the least likely scenario. I don't think that Punk, someone who obviously respects WWE and Triple H and all that kind of stuff, he's spoken very highly of them. I don't think that he is going to go crying to Triple H about that kind of situation. If he was going to say anything to anyone about it, I think he probably would have just done it to Drew himself. And again, I think that's the least likely scenario. I don't think that Punk is going to, go all out and be like, I'm going to fight Drew McIntyre for real, like backstage or something. I think that's going to happen. I think this is just like, I don't think that Punk had anything to do with this tweet being taken down. I do think, though, that there's a realistic possibility that Drew McIntyre, someone who we know at this point is like one of the most effective trolls in professional wrestling today, I think there's a real chance that he saw like the reaction it got. He knew what the reaction was going to be, and he just said, "Okay, yeah, that's what I got. I'm done now. I accomplished my mission." And look, Drew McIntyre is a great man. He is a fantastic performer. He's a great wrestler, all that kind of stuff. But he is an A1 level troller. I don't think there's anyone who trolls to the effectiveness of Drew McIntyre in all of professional wrestling. Like, this guy is, just like how Will Ospreay likes to say, he is on another level when it comes to this. I just think it's insane. And it got the reaction that it wanted. It is no longer up, but I don't count that towards, oh my God, people are mad. People are going to shoot. Someone's going to fight someone. If that did happen, like really think about it. If that did happen, it would be one of the biggest fumbles on CM Punk's end. And at that point, it would kind of confirm what a lot of people already believe about Punk, in that, like, it may not have been started by him. It may not have been, his gripe initially. There may have been things that were done to him, but his responses are not proportionate. And this dude is just, he can't be trusted. Like, it's going to confirm that. And I think Punk knows that at this point, because if he messes up in WWE in any way, which they do have reportedly measures in his contract specifically to mitigate this and protect themselves in case situations like that happen because of his past. If it did happen, it would be over, and Punk knows it. It would be game over for CM Punk in pro wrestling. At least, I mean, like, what, he's 45 now. Like, yeah, it would be game over basically. Like, I just do not see CM Punk being the person to escalate it at this point, just given where he is in his situation. If he did, it would be wild and it would be insane. And again, it would affirm something that many people believe to be true, which is that he's the problem. And it would be sad if that's the case, to be honest with you. Like, I know a lot of people want to be salacious about it. A lot of people want to be, oh my God, CM Punk is the worst human being in the world. No, like, I love CM Punk. I genuinely love, like, I don't think it was him and Bryan Danielson did so much for me getting back into professional wrestling around like 2010, 2011, because I had fallen off. I was like, I don't want to watch this stuff. The pipe bomb, discovering Bryan on the indies, those are two things that that made me gravitate back to pro wrestling. And like, Punk was an instrumental part in raising my awareness of wrestling, outside of WWE. So look, he's still like one of the most, must watch and needle moving stars there is in all of wrestling. Again, I don't think anything's going to happen. I think people are just kind of trying to make something out of nothing here, but we'll see. I've been here talking about this before and things have happened, so we'll see. Anyway, guys, let me know in the comment section what you think about this situation. Is it a work? Is it a shoot? Did someone get a phone call mysteriously and got told to take this down? Let me know in the comments. As we move on to our next topic, let's talk about a contract update in All Elite Wrestling. This is an interesting one because it's one of their biggest stars in the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. So here's what we know about Bryan Danielson. He went on AEW. He did an interview, with AEW and Renee Paquette on the AEW YouTube channel. And he basically said that his contract runs out on August 1st. And he did not offer too much detail about anything after that. Of course, that kind of matches up a timeline. If you go back to, September, like early September was when he first debuted in AEW. It was reported that he had agreed to terms a few weeks prior to that. So Bryan to AEW and like, yeah, 3 years. It's a 3-year contract is what was reported. That makes sense. Now, August 1st being the official date, because, again, Bryan's been someone who has been out with injuries. He's been, there's been a lot of things that have happened that have kept him out, and usually companies have the option to add injury time back to your contract in certain situations. So that's interesting. But Tony Khan actually did clear this up earlier yesterday, actually, on the Rich Eisen show, saying about Bryan, quote, "I hope Bryan will stay here for the rest of his life, and I know he's planning to stay with us for a long time going forward as part of the company. Hopefully, I would want Bryan to stay with us as much as humanly possible." So the big note there is that Tony Khan let the cat out of the bag, that Bryan is going to stay with AEW past his quote-unquote retirement date, the date of his last full-time match, whatever you want to call it. And there was speculation online that, of course, there always is. There's always going to be speculation online. But there was speculation online that Bryan was potentially headed back to WWE, that we could see him, back in WWE, and, maybe they would do something with, like, Pro Wrestling Noah. He could go work there or whatever. Does not seem like that's the case. Tony Khan was very, very confident about the fact that he thinks that Bryan is not only going to be in AEW, but he is going to be a participant in AEW in some capacity moving forward. And how that could be, I think it's backstage. Tony has talked about, and he's been very honest about this and open about this. He said that he told his dad that if anything happens to him, if he's incapacitated or whatever, he wants Bryan Danielson to run the company. That is how highly Tony Khan thinks of Bryan Danielson. That is, I think, how much he values the professional wrestling insight and care that Bryan Danielson puts into the product. And I think one of the things that we know to be true is that Tony Khan, like him or hate him, which I know a lot of people do, very polarizing figure, this is someone who genuinely cares about professional wrestling. Again, whether you like him or hate him, that is an undeniable fact. And I think part of the calculus with maybe putting Bryan in a more position of power or a position of influence in the company would kind of be to, if he's not there, carry that over and make sure that that is where the company is grounded in. Obviously, you're making money. This is a business. They are successful, and this is a successful business, right? They're about to get this massive TV deal done, it seems. But I think like being grounded in that is something that's very important to not only Tony Khan, but he understands it's very important to his fans. And there's no one out there, I think, who loves professional wrestling more than Bryan Danielson. I think like he at least loves it as much as anyone else. So I think that would be the guy. We'll see what ends up happening here because there's definitely a lot of stuff that will be determined over the next few weeks. I personally think that his last match is going to be at Wrestle Dream. I think that's where this is all culminating. It's in the Tacoma Dome. It's in the greater Seattle area. It's an hour and 15 away from Aberdeen, Washington, where he grew up. So, that would be the perfect place for him to potentially cap off his full-time career, and you could build an entire pay-per-view around it. I'm sure they will, and I think it's going to be probably one of their most watched pay-per-views of the year. Again, we will see what happens here. There's a lot that's happening with All Elite Wrestling, a lot that's happening with Bryan Danielson, but it seems, at least according to Tony Khan, that Bryan is indeed staying put. Let me know in the comment section, though, what you would do with Bryan Danielson's final run. Let's assume he does end at Wrestle Dream. There we go. That's what I was trying to say. Let's assume he does end at Wrestle Dream. Do you want to see him win the AEW World Title at All In? Would you like to see him lose? What does he do after that? Let me know in the comments. Also, if you haven't already done so, do me a big time favor. Smash that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released.